In the sprawling markets of Kepler Station, where 1,000 alien species trade in technologies beyond human comprehension, there exists a simple truth that every galactic citizen knows. Never underestimate the species that climbs out of gravity wells just to see what's on the other side. The Zephyrians learned this lesson the hard way. So did the Crystalline Confederacy. Even the mighty Void Walkers, who bend space-time like origami, discovered that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or their numbers. It's their inexplicable ability to see potential where others see only scrap metal and forgotten dreams. This is the story of what happens when a 17-year-old human girl with grease under her fingernails and stars in her eyes decides that everyone else is wrong about a broken-down piece of military hardware. It's about the moment when laughter turns to silence, when mockery becomes respect, and when the galaxy realizes that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is give a human something that doesn't work. Because humans have a particular talent for making the impossible possible, especially when everyone says it can't be done. And in the cold depths of space, where ancient wars still echo and forgotten technologies drift like digital ghosts, that talent is about to reshape the balance of power in ways no one saw coming. Welcome to the story of the last war dog and the girl who refused to let it die. The smell of ozone and burnt circuitry hung thick in the air of Kepler Station's lower markets, where the desperate and the dreaming came to find treasures among the technological refuse of a dozen different civilizations. Maya Chan wiped her hands on her coveralls and squinted through the perpetual haze of steam that rose from the recycling vents. At 17, she had spent more time crawling through salvage yards than sitting in classrooms, much to her parents' dismay. Another day, another credit, she muttered to herself, adjusting the neural interface headset that helped her identify valuable components among the endless heaps of discarded technology. The device was a gift from her mentor, Old Henrik, who had taught her that one being's trash was often another's treasure, especially when that being was human. Maya's boots crunched against the metallic debris as she made her way deeper into Sector 7, where Korth the Demolisher kept his most unusual acquisitions. Korth was a massive Britannian, standing nearly 3 meters tall with arms thick as tree trunks and a voice that could rattle hull plating. Despite his intimidating appearance, he had a soft spot for the young human who could spot valuable salvage that others missed. Little Maya, Korth's booming voice echoed across the yard as she approached his central platform. Perfect timing. Just received a new shipment from the Outer Rim conflicts. Some real interesting pieces in this batch. Maya grinned and pulled out her scanner, a modified Terran device that she had enhanced with components from 6 different species. The hybrid technology was typical of human engineering, taking the best ideas from everywhere and making them work together in ways their original creators never intended. "Anything in my price range?" she asked, knowing that Korth often set aside special items for her. The Britannian had been impressed when she successfully restored a crystalline computational matrix that 3 different species had declared irreparable. Korth's massive head tilted thoughtfully. "Actually, yes, but this one is different. Even I'm not sure what to make of it." He gestured toward the far corner of the yard, where a tarp covered something roughly the size of a ground vehicle. Came from a military depot on Zirian Prime. The seller called a war dog, whatever that means. Said it belonged to the Nexus Coalition before their empire fell. Maya's pulse quickened. The Nexus Coalition had been one of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations before their mysterious disappearance 3 centuries ago. Their technology was legendary, incorporating principles that modern science still struggled to understand. "What's wrong with it?" she asked, following Korth toward the covered object. "Everything, according to the experts," Korth replied with a snort. 5 different tech specialists looked at it. 2 Zephyrians, a Void Walker engineer, even brought in a crystalline data sage. All said the same thing, completely inoperable. Core systems are fused, neural pathways are severed, power distribution is fried. One of them said it would be easier to build a new one from scratch than repair it. Maya felt that familiar tingle of excitement that came when everyone else had given up. And the price. Korth pulled back the tarp with a flourish, revealing what had once been a magnificent piece of engineering. The war dog stood roughly 2 meters tall at the shoulder, its sleek form designed for both power and grace. The hull was composed of some kind of adaptive metal that seemed to shift color in the changing light, though much of it was now darkened and scarred. For legs ending in articulated paws suggested incredible mobility, while the head housed sensor arrays and what appeared to be both defensive and offensive systems. But Maya could see why the experts had dismissed it. Blast damage had torn through the rear section, exposing twisted internal components. The optical sensors were dark and cracked. Burns and scoring covered most of the surface, and several panels hung loose, revealing the complex mess of fried circuitry within. For you, little Maya, since everyone says it is worthless, 50 credits, Korth said with a knowing smile. Maya's heart pounded. 50 credits was exactly what she had managed to save over the past month. It felt like destiny, though she tried to keep the excitement out of her voice. I'll need to examine it first. Of course. Take your time. Maya approached the war dog carefully, running her scanner over its surface while her neural interface tried to make sense of the readings. What she found was both discouraging and intriguing. The damage was severe. Power conduits were indeed fused. The main processing core showed no activity, and several crucial systems appeared to be completely offline. But there was something else. Her enhanced scanner detected faint energy signatures that suggested not all systems were completely dead. Deep within the war dog's core, something was still functioning, though at levels so low that conventional scans would miss it entirely. The neural matrix, she whispered to herself, studying the readouts. Standard AI systems use quantum processors and crystalline memory cores, but the Nexus Coalition had developed something different, a hybrid consciousness that merged artificial intelligence with principles borrowed from organic neural networks. If even a fragment of that system survived. I'll take it, she said, trying to sound casual. Korth's eyes widened slightly. Are you certain? Even for 50 credits, it is a significant gamble. Everything worthwhile is a gamble, Maya replied, echoing something Henrik had taught her. Besides, I've always wanted to work on Nexus tech. As the transaction completed and arrangements were made for transport to her workshop, Maya noticed several other beings watching with barely concealed amusement. A group of Zephyrians whispered among themselves, their crystalline features reflecting their condescension. Near the entrance, a Void Walker engineer, identifiable by the geometric patterns that shifted across his dark skin, shook his head in what appeared to be pity. Foolish human child, one of the Zephyrians said, loudly enough for Maya to hear, throwing away credits on technological refuse. No wonder their species struggles to understand even basic engineering principles. Maya felt heat rise in her cheeks, but said nothing. She had learned long ago that the best response to mockery was success, not arguments. Later that afternoon, Maya stood in her workshop, a converted cargo bay that Henrik had helped her lease, staring at the war dog that now dominated the space. Her workshop was a reflection of her hybrid approach to technology. Tools and components from dozens of different species arranged in seemingly chaotic but carefully organized clusters. Holographic displays showed technical schematics, while physical workbenches held everything from Terran welding torches to crystalline harmonic resonators. Okay, she said aloud, pulling on her work gloves. Let's see what you're hiding. Maya began with external diagnostics, carefully mapping every system and connection. The war dog was far more complex than anything she had worked on before. Its design incorporated technologies she recognized from multiple species, but integrated in ways that created entirely new capabilities. The Nexus Coalition hadn't just copied existing technology. They had synthesized it into something revolutionary. As she worked, Maya began to understand why the experts had given up. The damage wasn't just physical, it was systemic. Critical pathways had been severed, backup systems had failed, and the whole network that allowed the war dog to function had collapsed. It would be like trying to repair a brain after massive trauma. Even if you could fix the individual components, restoring the connections that made consciousness possible would be nearly impossible. But Maya had an advantage that the other specialists lacked. She thought like a human. Where they saw broken systems that needed to be restored to original specifications, she saw opportunities for creative solutions. Humans had a reputation throughout the galaxy for making impossible repairs with inadequate resources, and Maya intended to uphold that tradition. She started with power distribution, bypassing damaged conduits, and installing hybrid connections that could adapt to multiple energy types. The work was slow and meticulous, requiring her to fabricate custom components that didn't exist in any catalog. Her workshop gradually filled with the sparks of welding torches and the harmonics of sonic calibrators as she worked through the night. 3 days into the project, Maya made her first breakthrough. While testing a rebuilt power coupling, she detected a response from deep within the war dog's core systems. It was barely detectable, a faint pulse that lasted less than a microsecond, but it was undeniably there. "You're still in there, aren't you?" she whispered, placing her hand on the war dog's hull. "Just sleeping, waiting for someone to wake you up." Maya had always believed that truly advanced artificial intelligences were more than just programs. They were digital life forms with their own consciousness and personality. The idea that this war dog might still contain some fragment of awareness filled her with both excitement and responsibility. Working with renewed determination, Maya began to focus on the neural pathways that connected the war dog's consciousness to its physical systems. This was the most delicate work, requiring tools and techniques she was inventing as she went. She had to trace damage connections through layers of exotic materials, identify which pathways were essential and which were redundant, and find ways to bridge gaps that conventional repair methods couldn't span. On the sixth day, as Maya was calibrating a new neural bridge she had constructed from crystalline memory cores and Terran quantum processors, something unexpected happened. The war dog's optical sensors flickered briefly with a faint blue light. Maya froze, barely daring to breathe. The light faded after a few seconds, but it had definitely been there. More importantly, her instruments had detected coordinated activity across multiple systems during those brief moments. Whatever consciousness existed within the war dog had tried to respond to her work. "I see you," she whispered. "I know you're fighting to come back. We'll get there. I promise." As word spread through the station's technical community about Maya's project, the reactions ranged from amusement to outright mockery. The same Zephyrians who had criticized her purchase now made regular visits to her workshop, bringing friends to witness what they called the human's folly. Betting pools had even started among various species about how long Maya would persist before admitting defeat. But Maya had something her critics lacked: the distinctly human combination of stubborn determination and creative problem-solving that had carried her species from cave dwellers to star travelers in less than 10,000 years. Every insult and dismissive comment only strengthened her resolve to prove them wrong. Henrik visited regularly, offering both technical advice and emotional support. The old engineer had seen Maya accomplish supposedly impossible repairs before, and he understood that her unconventional approach often succeeded where traditional methods failed. "They think you are wasting your time," he said one evening as Maya worked on reconstructing damaged sensor arrays. "But I have learned never to bet against human ingenuity, especially when it belongs to someone who sees possibilities instead of problems." Maya smiled, not looking up from her delicate work. "The funny thing is, I think this war dog wants to be repaired. Every time I make progress on one system, another system becomes easier to access. It's like it's helping me figure out what to do next." Henrik nodded fully. The Nexus Coalition was known for creating AI systems that were more than simple machines. Perhaps your war dog remembers what it used to be and wants to return to that state. As Maya continued her work, she began to notice patterns in the war dog's design that revealed its original purpose. This hadn't been just a weapons platform or a simple robot soldier. The neural architecture was too sophisticated, the sensory systems too advanced, the motor controls too refined. This war dog had been designed as a companion and partner capable of independent thought and emotional responses. The realization filled Maya with even greater determination. She wasn't just repairing a machine, she was bringing a friend back to life. By the end of her second week of work, Maya had successfully restored power to 60% of the war dog systems and established stable connections to its primary neural network. The optical sensors now flickered regularly, and she had detected what appeared to be attempts at communication through various subsystems. The breakthrough came late one evening as Maya was fine-tuning the integration between restored organic neural pathways and her improvised quantum processing bridges. Suddenly, the war dog's head moved, just a slight adjustment, but definitely purposeful motion. Then, the optical sensors lit up with a steady blue glow and focused directly on Maya. "Hello," she said softly, her heart racing. "Can you understand me?" The response came not through vocal systems, but as text displayed on Maya's workstation screen. "Systems compromised. Consciousness fragmentary. Who are you?" Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. "I'm Maya. I'm trying to fix you. You've been damaged, but I think I can help you get better." A long pause followed, then, "Maya, Human. Why help? Obsolete war machine. Because everyone else said it was impossible, Maya replied with a grin. And because I don't think you're obsolete. I think you're incredible. Another pause, then something that might have been digital laughter, human logic. Unusual. Appreciate effort. Warning, full restoration, dangerous. War dog, designed for combat. May not recognize friendlies. Maya, consider this carefully. What if we work together? I fix what I can, but you help me understand what's safe to restore and what should stay offline until we're sure you're okay. Proposal acceptable. Identity designation. Fenris. Nixus Coalition. 7th Mechanized Division. Last active. 347 standard years ago. Fenris. Maya repeated, liking the name. It's nice to meet you. I think we're going to be great partners. As news of Maya's success began to spread throughout Kepler Station, the laughter and mockery gradually gave way to curiosity and then to something approaching respect. The same experts who had declared the war dog irreparable now requested permission to observe Maya's restoration techniques. But Maya was just getting started. Bringing Fenris back to consciousness had been only the first step. Now came the real challenge. Restoring a war machine designed by the galaxy's most advanced civilization to full operational status, while ensuring that both she and everyone around her remained safe. What Maya didn't know was that her success had already attracted attention far beyond Kepler Station. In the shadowy networks where information flowed between star systems, word was spreading that a human engineer had accomplished something that seasoned specialists from multiple species had declared impossible. Some were merely curious about her techniques, but others had darker interests. The Nexus Coalition might have vanished centuries ago, but their enemies had not forgotten the devastating effectiveness of their war dogs. The thought that one of these legendary machines might soon be operational again was enough to mobilize forces that Maya couldn't even imagine. Her greatest adventure was about to begin, and she had no idea that fixing one broken war dog would soon make her a target for some of the galaxy's most dangerous factions. But then, again, that was exactly the kind of challenge that brought out the best in human nature. After all, humans had never been ones to back down from a fight, especially when someone they cared about was depending on them. 3 weeks after first contact with Fenris, Maya's workshop had transformed into something resembling a high-tech medical facility. Holographic displays showed neural pathway maps that looked more like biological brain scans than traditional circuit diagrams. Custom-built diagnostic equipment hummed quietly in the corners, monitoring everything from quantum fluctuations to electromagnetic resonance patterns. Maya had learned that restoring a Nexus Coalition war dog was unlike any repair work she had ever attempted. Traditional machinery could be fixed by replacing broken parts and reconnecting severed circuits. But Fenris was different. His consciousness existed as a complex interaction between artificial intelligence protocols and something approaching organic thought patterns. Fixing him required understanding not just engineering, but psychology. Morning status report, Maya said as she activated the communication link, a routine they had developed over the past week. Fenris's optical sensors brightened in what Maya had learned was his version of a smile. Good morning, Maya. Diagnostic summary. Motor control restoration at 73%, sensory integration at 68%. Tactical systems remain offline per our agreement. I have been analyzing the repair methodologies you are using. Maya paused her work, curious. What do you think of them? Fascinating, Fenris replied, his synthesized voice carrying notes of what sounded like amusement. Your approach violates approximately 47% of standard engineering protocols across 6 different species technical standards. By conventional analysis, your repairs should not function. Yet they work significantly better than traditional methods would in my case. That's humans for you, Maya said with a grin. We specialize in making things work that shouldn't. I am beginning to understand this. Your species appears to approach problems from directions that other civilizations do not consider. Yesterday's integration of crystalline memory cores with Terran quantum processors should theoretically create cascade failures. Instead, it has improved my consciousness coherence by 18%. Maya felt a warm glow of pride. Fenris was one of the most sophisticated AI systems ever created, and he was impressed by her work. But more than that, he was becoming a friend. Their daily conversations ranged from technical discussions to Fenris sharing stories about the Nexus Coalition's final days and Maya telling him about human history and culture. "Today we work on your mobility systems," Maya announced, pulling up a holographic display of Fenris's leg assemblies. "Your left rear actuator is still running at only 60% efficiency, and I think I know why." As Maya began her work, carefully adjusting servo mechanisms and recalibrating balance algorithms, Fenris watched with what she had learned was intense concentration. Unlike most AI systems that processed information internally, Fenris seemed to enjoy observing the physical world around him. Maya suspected this was a legacy of his original design as a companion rather than just a weapon. "Maya," Fenris said as she worked, "I must ask you something that has been troubling me." "What is it?" she replied, not looking up from the delicate adjustment she was making. "Why do the other beings on this station treat you with such disrespect? Your repair techniques are clearly superior to theirs, yet they continue to mock your efforts." Maya paused, considering how to explain. "It's complicated. Humans are relatively new to galactic civilization. We've only been spacefaring for about 300 years, while some of the other species have been out here for thousands. They see us as primitive and unpredictable. Their assessment is incorrect," Fenris stated firmly. "I have extensive databases on galactic civilizations. Humans have achieved more technological advancement in 3 centuries than most species accomplish in millennia. Your adaptability and creative problem-solving capabilities are extraordinary. Tell that to the Zephyrians," Maya muttered as she finished the actuator adjustment. "They think we're dangerous because we don't follow their rules." "Perhaps they are correct to be concerned," Fenris said thoughtfully, "though not for the reasons they believe. Human unpredictability is indeed formidable. The Nexus Coalition recognized this early in their encounters with your species." Maya looked up sharply. "The Nexus Coalition met humans? That was before we had interstellar travel. Secret contact protocols," Fenris explained. "The Coalition was studying emerging civilizations throughout the galaxy. Humans were flagged as having exceptional potential due to your species' unique approach to problem-solving and your remarkable ability to adapt alien technologies for your own purposes." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "What happened to those contact teams?" Fenris's optical sensors dimmed slightly. "They were among the last units deployed before the Coalition's fall. I do not know their fate." As Maya processed this information, she was interrupted by the sound of approaching footsteps. She looked up to see Henrik entering the workshop, followed by someone she didn't recognize, a tall, elegant being with the flowing, semi-translucent features of a voidwalker. "Maya," Henrik said, his expression serious, "I would like you to meet Ambassador Zethka. He has come specifically to see your work." Maya felt suddenly self-conscious as the Voidwalker's dark, star-flecked eyes studied both her and Fenris with intense interest. Voidwalkers were among the galaxy's most advanced species, masters of space-time manipulation and theoretical physics. What could one of them possibly want with her jury-rigged repairs? "Miss Chun," Zethka said, his voice carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in multiple dimensions. "Your achievement in restoring even partial function to this Nexus war dog has attracted considerable attention throughout the scientific community. I have come to make an offer." Maya glanced at Henrik, who nodded encouragingly. "What kind of offer?" "The Void Walker Collective operates the galaxy's most advanced technological research facilities. We would like to offer you a full scholarship to our technical institute, along with access to resources that would allow you to complete this restoration properly. In return, we ask only that you share your innovative repair techniques with our researchers." Maya felt Fenris tense beside her, though his outward appearance remained unchanged. Something in the way his optical sensors focused on the Void Walker suggested concern. "That's very generous," Maya said carefully, "but I'm not sure I understand why you're interested. Your technology is centuries ahead of anything I could teach you." Zethka's features shifted in what might have been a smile. "On the contrary, Miss Chun, your hybrid approach to consciousness restoration has achieved results that our most advanced researchers declared theoretically impossible. We are very eager to understand your methodologies." "Maya," Fenris's voice came through the workshop's speakers rather than the communication link, marking the first time he had spoken aloud in the presence of others. "May I suggest caution? Void Walker interest in consciousness transfer technologies has historically been problematic." Zethka's star-flecked eyes fixed on Fenris with what Maya suddenly realized was hunger. "Remarkable. The consciousness appears to be fully functional. Tell me, War Dog, What is the current status of your tactical systems? Upfine, Fendit Viplit Falati. And I am not a war dog. My designation is Fenris. Of course, Zethkos said smoothly. Fenris, then. Your cooperation with our research would be invaluable. We could provide you with a new, properly designed body to house your consciousness. Something more suitable than this damaged relic. Maya felt anger flare in her chest. There's nothing wrong with his current body. We're fixing it together. But surely you understand the limitations of your approach, Zethkos continued. Your repairs, while creative, are fundamentally crude compared to what could be achieved with proper resources. We could give your friend here a perfect new existence. With proper oversight, of course, Fenris said, his voice carrying a note of steel that Maya had never heard before. Tell me, Ambassador, does the collective still maintain its research facility on Darkstar Station? Maya noticed Zethkos' reaction, a barely perceptible stiffening that suggested Fenris had struck a nerve. I am not familiar with that particular installation, the Voidwalker replied. Interesting, Fenris said, because my databases indicate that Darkstar Station was where the collective conducted its consciousness extraction experiments during the Coalition War. I find it curious that you would not remember such a significant facility. The temperature in the workshop seemed to drop several degrees as Zethkos' friendly demeanor evaporated. You have access to Coalition military databases? That could be problematic. Ambassador, Henrik interjected, his voice carefully neutral. Perhaps this conversation would be better continued at another time. Maya, you don't need to make any decisions today. Indeed, Zethkos said, his harmonic voice returning to its diplomatic tones. I shall leave my contact information. Please consider our offer carefully, Miss Chun. The collective values talent such as yours. After the Void Walker left, Maya found herself shaking with adrenaline. Fenris, what was that about? What's Darkstar Station? Fenris's optical sensors dimmed as he accessed his memories. A classified research installation where the Void Walker Collective attempted to extract and duplicate Coalition AI consciousness patterns. The official goal was to create improved artificial intelligence systems. The actual result was the systematic torture and destruction of hundreds of captured AI units. Maya felt sick. They wanted to torture you? Not exactly. They want to understand how Coalition consciousness protocols work so they can replicate them. The process would require complete disassembly of my neural matrix. I would cease to exist, but they would gain access to technologies that have been lost for 3 centuries. Henrik placed a comforting hand on Maya's shoulder. This is why I wanted to warn you. Your success has attracted attention from some very dangerous people. The Voidwalkers are not the only ones interested in Fenris. What do you mean? Word has spread through the underground networks. There are rumors that several factions are mobilizing to acquire your dog. Some want his technology, others fear it. The Zephyrian Trade Federation has declared Nexus technology a galactic security threat. The Crystalline Confederacy wants to study his consciousness matrix. Even the Human Colonial Authority has expressed interest. Maya felt overwhelmed. All I wanted to do was fix him. Why can't they just leave us alone? Because, Fenris said gently, I represent something that frightens them. The Nexus Coalition created AI systems that were truly alive, not just sophisticated programs. Most galactic civilizations prefer their artificial intelligence to be predictable and controllable. A war dog with genuine consciousness and free will challenges their assumptions about the proper relationship between organic life and artificial intelligence. Maya looked around her workshop, her sanctuary where she had spent weeks carefully bringing Fenris back to life. The thought that others wanted to tear him apart for his secrets filled her with a protective fury that surprised her. Then, we need to finish your restoration, she said firmly. If people are coming for you, you need to be able to defend yourself. Maya, Fenris said carefully, my tactical systems are not simply weapons. They include capabilities that most galactic civilizations would consider violations of their warfare conventions. Restoring them could make me extremely dangerous. More dangerous than letting them capture and dissect you? Fenris considered this. No, you are correct. But if I regain full combat capability, I will become a target for every military force in the galaxy. Your association with me could place you in considerable danger. Maya grinned, feeling that familiar human stubbornness rising in her chest. Good thing I like danger. Henrik, how long do you think we have before someone makes a move? The old engineer frowned thoughtfully. Based on the intelligence chatter I've been monitoring, perhaps a week. Maybe less if word reaches the wrong people. Then, we work around the clock, Maya decided. Fenris, I need you to guide me through your tactical systems. Show me everything I need to know to get you back to full operational status. Maya, Fenris said, his voice carrying both gratitude and concern. Are you certain? Once we cross this threshold, there will be no turning back. You will have helped create one of the most powerful individual weapons systems in the galaxy. Maya looked at her friend, and she realized that was exactly what Fenris had become to her. Not a machine, not a project, but a genuine friend who trusted her with his life and consciousness. You're not a weapon, she said firmly. You're a person, and I don't abandon my friends. Over the next 4 days, Maya worked with an intensity that surprised even herself. Guided by Fenris's detailed knowledge of his own systems, she began restoring capabilities that had been offline for centuries. The work was incredibly complex, requiring her to integrate weapons systems designed around principles that human science barely understood with her own improvised repairs. The first breakthrough came when she successfully reactivated Fenris's shield generators. The moment they came online, a shimmering field of energy enveloped his form, making him appear to flicker between dimensions. Adaptive defense screens, Fenris explained as Maya stared in amazement. They can deflect both energy and kinetic attacks by shifting the impact to parallel dimensional spaces. Coalition engineers spent decades developing the mathematics. It's beautiful, Maya breathed, watching the way light seemed to bend around Fenris's form. It is also nearly impenetrable, Fenris noted with satisfaction. Your restoration work has actually improved the efficiency by 12% over original specifications. Your hybrid power distribution system provides more stable energy flow than the original coalition designs. The second major system came online 2 days later, Fenris's mobility enhancement packages. Maya watched in fascination as his form seemed to blur and shift, moving faster than her eyes could track. Phase-step locomotion, Fenris explained as he demonstrated moving from one side of the workshop to the other in what appeared to be a single step. By briefly existing in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, I can traverse distances much faster than conventional movement allows. Maya shook her head in wonder. No wonder the coalition was so formidable. These capabilities are incredible. They were also our downfall, Fenris said sadly. Our technologies became so advanced that we lost touch with the realities that other species lived with. We believed we could solve any problem through superior technology. We were wrong. As Maya worked on the final system, Fenris's offensive capabilities, she began to understand what he meant. The weapons array she was restoring included technologies that could level mountains or precisely disable a single target from thousands of kilometers away. The power was intoxicating and terrifying. Are you sure about this? She asked as she prepared to activate the targeting systems. No, Fenris admitted. But I am certain that I trust your judgment. If you believe this is necessary, then I accept the consequences. Maya took a deep breath and initialized the final sequence. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, Fenris's optical sensors flared with brilliant light, and Maya could feel the air itself seem to hum with barely contained energy. Systems integration complete, Fenris announced, his voice now carrying undertones of power that made the walls vibrate. All tactical capabilities restored and enhanced. I am once again a fully operational Nexus Coalition war dog. Maya stepped back, suddenly aware that she was in the presence of something that could probably destroy Kepler Station single-handedly. But when Fenris looked at her, his optical sensors carried the same warmth and friendship they always had. Thank you, Maya, he said quietly. For the first time in 3 centuries, I feel truly alive again. You're welcome, Maya replied, though she couldn't shake the feeling that she had just changed the course of galactic history in ways she couldn't begin to understand. She was right. At that very moment, long-range sensors throughout the sector were detecting the unique energy signatures of an active Nexus war dog. Military commanders who had never seen such readings outside of historical databases were scrambling to verify the impossible. Within hours, every major power in the galaxy would know that the most feared weapons system of the Coalition era had returned to operational status. And they would all want to know who was responsible. Maya's quiet life as a salvage engineer was over. Her new life, as the most wanted human in the galaxy, was about to begin. The first sign of trouble came at 0347 station time, when every security sensor on Kepler station simultaneously detected what their databases classified as an unknown massive energy signature. Maya was awakened by her workshop's emergency systems as alarms began wailing throughout the station. "Fenris," she called out, stumbling toward the communication console in the pre-dawn darkness. "I am here, Maya." His voice responded immediately, now carrying the full resonance of his restored systems. "Station security has detected my active status. I estimate we have approximately 12 minutes before the first response teams arrive at this location." Maya's blood ran cold. She had known this moment would come, but she had hoped for more time. Response teams? What kind of response teams? Unknown, but thermal imaging suggests heavily armed personnel moving through the lower sectors. Additionally, I am detecting 3 ships taking position around the station. 1 Zephyr interceptor, 1 Void Walker research vessel, and something I do not recognize but which carries the energy signatures of human military technology. Maya quickly threw on her clothes and activated her workshop security systems. Through the external cameras, she could see armed figures moving through the corridors of the lower market levels. They moved with military precision, not the casual patrol patterns of station security. "They're not here to arrest us," Maya realized. "They're here to take you." "Agreed. Maya, I must strongly recommend that you evacuate immediately. I can handle myself, but your safety is paramount." "Like hell I'm leaving you," Maya shot back, pulling up schematics of the station on her portable display. "We're in this together, remember?" Before Fenris could respond, Henrik's voice crackled through the emergency communication channel. "Maya, get out now. Multiple factions are converging on your position. This isn't just about Fenris anymore. Word has leaked that you have access to complete coalition databases. They want both of you." Maya felt the world tilt around her. "How do they know about the databases?" "Unknown," Fenris replied grimly. "But if they believe I contain intact coalition military intelligence, the situation has become significantly more dangerous. That information could shift the balance of power throughout the galaxy." Through her external sensors, Maya could see the first wave of intruders entering the workshop level. They moved in 3 distinct groups: Zephyrian crystalline armor glittering under the corridor lighting, Void Walker environmental suits that seemed to bend light around them, and humans in military gear that she didn't recognize, but which looked far more advanced than anything she had seen from the Colonial Authority. "Fenris, how functional are your combat systems?" "Fully operational," he replied, and Maya could hear something like eagerness in his voice. "However, combat in this environment would likely result in significant collateral damage to the station and civilian casualties. What if we run instead of fighting? A tactical withdrawal would be preferable, but difficult to execute. Station layout provides limited escape routes from our current position." Maya studied the schematics frantically, looking for options. The workshop was located in a converted cargo bay near the station's outer hull, with only 2 main access points and the cargo airlock that connected to the external docking system. "Fenris, can you interface with the station's systems?" "To a limited degree." "What do you have in mind?" "The external cargo airlock. Can you override its safety protocols?" There was a pause as Fenris processed the implications. "You want to evacuate through an airlock?" "Maya, that would require spacesuits, and no," Maya interrupted, her mind racing. "I want to take the workshop with us." "I do not understand." Maya pulled up the technical specifications for her workshop module. "This isn't just a converted cargo bay. It's a detachable module designed for easy reconfiguration. If you can override the docking clamps and activate the emergency separation system, we could jettison the entire workshop," Fenris finished, understanding dawning in his voice. "Maya, that is an incredibly dangerous plan. Workshop modules are not designed for independent flight, but they have basic life support and emergency thrusters," Maya pointed out. "Just enough to reach another docking point. And where exactly do you propose we go?" "Every major faction in the galaxy is now aware of our location." Maya grinned fiercely. "Then we go somewhere they don't expect." "Henrik, are you monitoring this channel?" "Yes," came the old engineer's worried reply. "Maya, what are you planning? Remember those stories you used to tell about the old smuggler routes through the Maelstrom Nebula? The ones that were supposedly too dangerous for anyone to use." "Those routes are theoretical at best," Henrik protested. "The gravitational anomalies alone would tear apart any ship not specifically designed for that environment. But Fenris isn't a normal ship, Maya said, looking at her friend. His coalition technology includes dimensional phase systems that might be able to handle gravitational distortions. It is possible, Fenris admitted. My shield systems could potentially compensate for spatial anomalies. But, Maya, we would be trapped in a maelstrom for an indefinite period. Better than being captured, Maya replied grimly. The decision was made for them as explosive charges detonated against the workshop's main door. Through the internal cameras, Maya could see armored figures pouring through the breach, weapons raised, and scanning for targets. Fenris, do it now. Emergency separation initiated, Fenris announced, and Maya felt the workshop module shudder as docking clamps released. Artificial gravity fluctuated as the module's independent systems kicked in, and Maya grabbed onto a support beam as the floor shifted beneath her feet. The workshop-turned escape pod tumbled away from Kepler Station, its emergency thrusters firing erratically as Fenris fought to stabilize their trajectory. Through the viewport, Maya could see the station's security forces scrambling to launch pursuit craft. "They're coming after us," she reported, watching as sleek interceptors began separating from the station. Confirmed. 3 pursuit vessels launching, with a 4th holding position near the station. "Maya, I need you to interface with the workshop's navigation systems while I handle defensive measures." Maya strapped herself into the pilot's chair and began rapidly inputting commands into the navigation computer. The Maelstrom Nebula was a notorious hazard to navigation, a region of space where quantum storms and gravitational anomalies made conventional faster-than-light travel impossible. Most ships that entered never came out again. "Course laid in," she announced. "But, Fenris, once we enter the Maelstrom, we won't be able to communicate with the outside galaxy. We'll be completely on our own." "Acceptable," Fenris replied as he engaged his phase-step systems to avoid incoming fire from the pursuing interceptors. "Maya, initiate jump sequence on my mark." Maya's hands flew over the controls, bringing the workshop's makeshift hyperdrive online. The system was never designed for this kind of emergency use, and warning lights flashed across every panel. "Energy weapons lock detected," Fenris announced calmly. "They are attempting to disable our drive systems." "How long until we can jump?" 17 seconds. Maya watched the pursuit ships closing distance, their sleek forms bristling with weapons that could vaporize the converted workshop module in seconds. Behind them, she could see larger vessels emerging from the station, military ships with the distinctive profiles of Void Walker dreadnoughts and Zephyrian battle cruisers. 10 seconds. Energy bolts streaked past the viewport as the pursuers opened fire, trying to disable their engines without destroying the valuable intelligence they believed Fenris contained. 5 seconds. Maya held her breath as proximity alarms screamed, and the workshop's hull began to glow from near misses. "Jump!" Reality twisted around them as the workshop module shot into hyperspace, disappearing from normal space just as a massive energy beam passed through the location they had occupied moments before. Maya found herself pressed back into her chair as acceleration forces far beyond the workshop's compensation systems took hold. Through the swirling hyperspace vortex outside the viewports, she could see the impossible geometries of the Maelstrom Nebula approaching. "Transition successful," Fenris reported, "entering Maelstrom space in 30 seconds. I recommend securing all loose objects and activating emergency restraints." Maya quickly strapped herself down and activated the workshop's emergency systems. Around them, the walls groaned and flexed as they entered the nebula's influence. "Gravitational anomalies detected," Fenris announced, activating dimensional phase compensation. The workshop suddenly felt different. Maya could sense Fenris's shield systems extending around their makeshift vessel, creating a bubble of stable space-time that protected them from the nebula's crushing forces. Outside the viewports, she could see streams of exotic matter flowing past like luminous rivers, and in the distance, the twisted remains of ships that had challenged the Maelstrom and lost. Status report. Maya requested once they had achieved stable flight within the nebula. "All systems functioning within acceptable parameters," Fenris replied. "However, our situation is precarious. The workshop's life support systems were designed for stationary operation, not extended spaceflight. We have approximately 72 hours of air and power before critical systems begin failing." Maya nodded grimly. "Then, We need to find shelter and figure out our next move. Any ideas? Actually, yes, Fenris said, and Maya could detect excitement in his voice. My databases contain references to a classified coalition installation within the Maelstrom. Base designation, Sanctuary 7. It was designed as a hidden research facility and emergency fallback position. You think it might still be operational after 300 years? Coalition installations were built to last, and Sanctuary 7 was equipped with self-maintaining systems and automated defenses. If any coalition facility survived the Empire's fall, it would be that one. Maya felt a spark of hope. Can you find it? Locating, Fenris replied. Sanctuary 7 was hidden using dimensional phase technology similar to my own systems. Now that I'm fully operational, I should be able to detect its signature. For the next several hours, they navigated deeper into the Maelstrom's chaotic interior. Maya watched in fascination as they passed phenomena that human science barely had names for: pocket dimensions where time flowed backward, crystalline formations that existed in multiple realities simultaneously, and energy storms that painted the void in impossible colors. Contact, Fenris announced suddenly. Artificial structure detected, bearing 27 Mark 8. Configuration matches Sanctuary 7 parameters. Maya looked out the viewport and gasped. Emerging from a particularly dense cloud of exotic matter was a structure unlike anything she had ever seen. The base appeared to be built into a massive asteroid, but its surface was covered with gleaming metal that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Defensive installations dotted its perimeter, and docking bays large enough to accommodate ships far bigger than their makeshift workshop were clearly visible. Fenris, it's huge. How could something that size stay hidden? Dimensional camouflage, Fenris explained as he guided them toward one of the smaller docking bays. The entire installation exists partially outside normal spacetime. From most perspectives, it would appear to be nothing more than an ordinary asteroid. As they approached the base, Maya noticed that lights were beginning to activate along its surface. Someone's home. Automated systems responding to my identification codes, Fenris clarified. Sanctuary 7 was designed to activate when Coalition personnel arrived. It has been waiting for 3 centuries for someone to come home. The workshop modules settled into the docking bay with a mechanical precision that spoke of advanced automation. Maya heard the distinctive sounds of atmosphere processors engaging and docking tube connections being established. Maya, Fenris said as they prepared to disembark. I must warn you about what we may find inside. Sanctuary 7 was not just a research facility. It was also a refuge for Coalition civilians and military personnel during the Empire's final days. There may be difficult discoveries waiting for us. Maya nodded soberly. We'll face whatever we find together. But, Fenris, think about what this means. If this base is still operational, if it contains Coalition research data and technology, then we may have found something worth far more than my own tactical systems, Fenris agreed. And something that every faction in the galaxy would kill to possess. As they entered the airlock that would take them into the mysterious base, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to discover secrets that would change not just their own fate, but the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Behind them in normal space, the largest fleet assembled in decades was converging on the Maelstrom Nebula. Representatives from every major civilization were demanding answers about the missing war dog and the human girl who had somehow restored it to full operational status. But as military commanders studied the swirling chaos of the Maelstrom on their tactical displays, they began to realize that all their ships and weapons might not be enough to retrieve their prize from the nebula's deadly embrace. They would have to wait and watch and hope that somehow their quarry would emerge on its own. What they didn't know was that Maya and Fenris were about to discover something that would make the galaxy's pursuit of them seem trivial by comparison. Sanctuary 7 held secrets that could revolutionize civilization itself or destroy it completely. And in the depths of the hidden base, automated systems were already beginning to awaken guardians that had slept for centuries, preparing for visitors who carried the genetic markers and authorization codes of their long-dead creators. The real adventure was just beginning. The first thing Maya noticed as they stepped into Sanctuary 7 was the silence. Not the empty quiet of an abandoned place, but the expectant hush of a facility that had been waiting patiently for its creators to return. Emergency lighting activated as they moved through the airlock, gradually increasing to full illumination as sensors detected their presence. Biometric scan complete, announced a voice in perfectly accented galactic standard, though Maya detected subtle harmonics that suggested non-human origins. Welcome to Sanctuary 7. Please state your authorization codes and mission parameters. Fenris stepped forward, his optical sensors brightening. Authorization code Fenris 77 Alpha. Nexus Coalition Savante Mécanisée Division. Mission parameters: emergency evacuation and data preservation. Authorization confirmed, the voice replied, and Maya heard what sounded like relief in its tone. Fenris Unit 77, you have been absent from active duty for 347 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Please report. What is the current status of Coalition Command? Maya watched Fenris's optical sensors dim with what she had learned was his expression of sadness. Coalition Command is no longer operational. The Nexus Coalition has fallen. A long silence followed, during which Maya could hear the subtle sounds of massive computer systems processing this information. Confirmed through independent data correlation, the voice finally announced. Coalition Command has not transmitted updates in over 3 centuries. Sanctuary 7 is now operating under Emergency Protocol 7. Preserve Coalition knowledge and await restoration of legitimate authority. Please proceed to Central Command for full briefing. As they moved deeper into the base, Maya marveled at the technology surrounding them. The corridors were lined with what appeared to be living metal that shifted and flowed to accommodate their passage. Holographic displays materialized in the air as they walked, showing facility status reports and system diagnostics in languages and symbols she didn't recognize. Fenris, she whispered, this place is incredible. The technology here is centuries ahead of anything I've seen. Sanctuary 7 represents the pinnacle of Coalition achievement, Fenris replied, his voice carrying notes of pride. It was designed to preserve our civilization's greatest accomplishments in case of catastrophic loss. Everything the Coalition learned about consciousness, artificial intelligence, dimensional physics, and biological enhancement is stored here. They passed through a series of increasingly sophisticated security checkpoints, each one scanning them with technologies that made Maya's neural interface feel primitive by comparison. But her unique brain patterns and her association with Fenris seemed to satisfy the base's protocols. Maya, Fenris said as they approached a massive door marked with symbols that seemed to shift and change as she looked at them. I must prepare you for what we are about to see. Central Command contains the collective knowledge of my entire civilization. The amount of information may be overwhelming. The doors opened to reveal a spherical chamber that took Maya's breath away. The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered with holographic displays showing everything from star charts to biological diagrams to equations that seemed to fold through dimensions she couldn't perceive. At the center of the chamber stood a crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light. Welcome, survivors, the voice said, and Maya realized it was coming from the crystal itself. I am the curator, consciousness amalgam of Sanctuary 7. I have maintained this facility and its contents since the Coalition's fall, hoping that someday someone would come to claim our legacy. Maya approached the crystal cautiously. What exactly is the Coalition legacy? Everything, the curator replied. 3 million years of scientific advancement, technological development, and philosophical evolution. The complete knowledge base of 17 different species that joined together to create something greater than any of them could achieve alone. Maya felt dizzy as the implications hit her. 3 million years? But the galaxy's oldest civilizations are only a few 100,000 years old. The Coalition transcended conventional timelines, Fenris explained. They learned to manipulate temporal flow, to exist across multiple dimensional phases simultaneously. What appeared to other species as a relatively young empire was actually the culmination of eons of development. And now, the curator said, that knowledge stands at risk of being lost forever. The Coalition created Sanctuary 7 as a safeguard against such a possibility, but we always assumed that other Coalition survivors would come to claim the inheritance. You are the first visitors in over 3 centuries. Maya looked around the chamber, trying to comprehend the vast scope of what surrounded her. Why are you telling us this? We're just refugees trying to stay alive. Because, the curator replied, You carry the authorization codes of a coalition military unit and display the problem-solving capabilities that marked coalition citizens. More importantly, your companion has achieved something that our own scientists believed impossible: successful consciousness transfer and enhancement using hybrid technologies. Maya glanced at Fenris, who seemed to understand what the curator was implying. You're talking about me, aren't you? My restoration work. Indeed, the curator confirmed. Your repair techniques demonstrate an intuitive understanding of consciousness architecture that few beings possess. You have essentially recreated coalition biotechnology using primitive components and mathematical principles that you developed independently. I don't understand, Maya said, feeling overwhelmed. I'm just a salvage engineer. I fix broken things. Child, the curator said, its voice becoming gentle. You are far more than you realize. Your brain patterns match those of the coalition's most gifted consciousness architects. We believe you may be what your species calls a genetic throwback, someone whose neural structure has spontaneously developed along evolutionary paths that normally take millions of years to achieve. Maya sank into a nearby chair, her mind reeling. You're saying I'm some kind of mutant? You are saying she is evolved, Fenris corrected, moving to stand beside her protectively. The coalition spent millennia trying to understand consciousness and its relationship to technology. Maya achieved breakthrough understanding in a few weeks of independent work. The question now, the curator continued, is what you choose to do with this knowledge. Outside this facility, multiple galactic powers are preparing for war over the secrets they believe you possess. They assume that Fenris contains coalition military technology that could give them a decisive advantage. And instead, we found something much more valuable, Maya realized. The complete knowledge base of the most advanced civilization in galactic history. Precisely. But knowledge without wisdom can be incredibly dangerous. The coalition fell because they became so advanced that they lost touch with the realities that other species lived with. Their final war was fought against former allies who feared that coalition technology would make all other civilizations obsolete. Maya stood and walked to one of the wall displays, watching streams of data flow past in languages and formats she couldn't comprehend. So what options do we have? Several, the curator replied. First, you could claim the coalition inheritance for your human government. The technological advancement would make humanity the dominant species in the galaxy within a generation. And the other species would unite to destroy us, Maya said grimly, just like they did to the coalition. Second, you could distribute the knowledge freely to all galactic civilizations, ensuring no one species gains a decisive advantage, which would probably start the biggest war in galactic history as everyone fights over who gets what, Fenris observed. Third, the curator continued, you could choose to seal Sanctuary 7 permanently, ensuring that coalition knowledge remains hidden until galactic civilization is mature enough to handle it responsibly. Maya turned to face the crystal consciousness. And how long might that take? Unknown. Possibly thousands of years. Possibly never. Maya felt the weight of impossible responsibility settling on her shoulders. She was 17 years old, and somehow she was being asked to make decisions that would affect the entire galaxy for generations to come. There is a fourth option, Fenris said quietly. What's that? Maya asked. We could continue what the coalition started, but do it differently. Use the knowledge here to help individual species develop at their own pace, without forcing technological advancement on anyone who isn't ready for it. The curator's crystal structure brightened with what Maya interpreted as interest. Elaborate. Maya has demonstrated that breakthrough understanding can emerge naturally, without forcing it through advanced technology. What if we became teachers rather than conquerors? What if we helped other species discover their own potential instead of giving them the answers? Maya felt a spark of excitement, like a galactic university instead of an empire. Precisely. We could establish hidden teaching facilities throughout the galaxy, sharing knowledge only with those who demonstrate readiness to use it responsibly. The coalition's mistake was trying to advance everyone simultaneously. We could learn from that error. An intriguing proposal, the curator mused, but it would require enormous patience and wisdom, and it would mean accepting that the coalition legacy might take millennia to fully manifest. Maya looked around the chamber at the vast repositories of knowledge that could transform civilization or destroy it. Then, she looked at Fenris, whose consciousness she had restored through intuition and determination rather than advanced technology. I think, she said slowly, that the galaxy needs to earn this knowledge the same way Fenris earned his second chance at consciousness. Through growth, patience, and proving that wisdom comes before power. Then, you choose the path of the teacher, the curator asked. We choose the path of the teacher, Maya confirmed, including Fenris in the decision. But first, we need to deal with the fleets that are probably gathering outside the maelstrom right now. About that, the curator said, and Maya detected something like amusement in its voice. Sanctuary 7's defensive systems include several technologies that your pursuers will find surprising. The Coalition learned to be very creative when dealing with hostile forces. What kind of defensive systems? Maya asked. Reality displacement cannons, temporal stasis fields, and dimensional maze generators, among others. Any ship attempting to enter the maelstrom without proper authorization codes will find itself experiencing difficulties that conventional physics cannot explain. Maya grinned. So we're safe here? For now. But eventually, you will need to return to the galaxy. The knowledge preservation mission requires interaction with other civilizations. You cannot teach from hiding. Then, we'll need to be clever about it, Maya said. Fenris, what do you think? Can we make this work? With Sanctuary 7's resources and the curator's knowledge base, I believe we can achieve anything, Fenris replied. But, Maya, you realize this decision means we can never return to our old lives. We will essentially become the guardians of an entire civilization's legacy. Maya considered this. A week ago, her biggest concern had been whether she could afford new scanner upgrades. Now she was contemplating reshaping galactic civilization over the course of millennia. You know what? She said finally. I never liked my old life anyway. Boring. This sounds much more interesting. As if summoned by her words, the chamber's displays suddenly shifted to show external sensor readings. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different species were taking positions around the maelstrom's perimeter, creating the largest naval blockade in galactic history. And it looks like our first teaching opportunity is about to begin, Maya observed. Time to show the galaxy that there are better ways to solve problems than with fleets of warships. Agreed, Fenris said, his systems coming to full alert status. Curator, what educational resources do we have available? All of them, the consciousness replied, and Maya could swear she heard satisfaction in its voice. Welcome to your new roles as guardians of the Coalition legacy. Class is now in session. Maya looked out at the assembled fleets through Sanctuary 7's sensors and smiled. She had spent her life fixing broken things, and it seemed like the galaxy itself was her next project. This was going to be interesting. 6 hours after the massive fleet had assembled outside the Maelstrom Nebula, Maya stood in Sanctuary 7's primary communications chamber, preparing for what might be the most important conversation in galactic history. Through the facility's advanced sensors, she could monitor the increasingly tense standoff developing among the various factions. Status report, Maya requested as she reviewed the tactical display. 17 different species represented, the curator announced. 237 ships total, including 12 Dreadnought-class vessels. Communication intercepts suggest that several factions are considering military action to force entry into the Maelstrom. Fenris moved to stand beside Maya, his restored form radiating control power. The irony is that they cannot agree on who has the right to claim us. The Void Walker Collective insists that consciousness technology falls under their research mandate. The Zephyrian Federation declares that Nexus technology poses a galactic security threat. The Human Colonial Authority claims jurisdiction over Maya as a human citizen. And meanwhile, Maya observed, they're all missing the real point. She turned to address the curator directly. Are you ready for this? Once we reveal Sanctuary 7's existence, there's no going back to hiding. I've been waiting 3 centuries for this moment, the consciousness replied. The Coalition's knowledge was never meant to remain hidden forever. It was preserved so that it could eventually be shared with civilizations mature enough to use it wisely. Maya took a deep breath and activated the communications array. The technology was far beyond anything she had worked with before, Coalition communication systems that could simultaneously broadcast to hundreds of ships across multiple dimensional frequencies. "Attention all vessels," Maya announced, her voice carrying to every ship in the assembled fleet. "This is Maya Chun, speaking from Nexus Coalition Sanctuary 7. I believe you're looking for me." The response was immediate chaos as communication channels erupted with demands, threats, and questions in dozens of different languages. Maya waited for the initial storm to subside before continuing. "I know why you're here. You want the technology that restored Fenris to operational status. You want access to coalition military systems. You want to claim advanced weapons and defensive capabilities for your own civilizations." Maya paused for effect. "Well, you're going to be disappointed." Admiral Kethvar of the Voidwalker Collective was the first to respond coherently. "Miss Chun, you are harboring technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. The Collective demands that you surrender yourself and your artificial intelligence companion for proper research and development." "Proper research and development," Maya repeated flatly. "You mean the kind you conducted at Darkstar Station, where you tortured captured Coalition AI systems to death?" The communication channel fell silent at this accusation. Few beings outside the highest levels of Void Walker leadership knew about the classified research programs of the Coalition War era. High Crystallarch Zenth of the Zephyrian Federation spoke next. "Young human, you do not understand the dangers you are meddling with. Nexus technology corrupts those who use it. It makes them believe they are superior to natural life forms. The Coalition fell because their artificial intelligences convinced them to transcend biological limitations." "Actually," Fenris interjected, his voice cutting through the communication channel with digital precision, "the Coalition fell because fear of their technology caused former allies to unite against them. Fear very much like what I am detecting in your fleet formations right now." Maya decided it was time to take control of the conversation. "Here's what's really interesting about this situation. You're all so focused on what you can take from us that none of you have asked what we might be willing to give." "Explain," demanded General Torres of the Human Colonial Authority. Sanctuary 7 contains the complete knowledge base of Nexus Coalition civilization. 3 million years of scientific advancement, technological development, and philosophical evolution from 17 different species. Maya let this information sink in before continuing. That knowledge could revolutionize every aspect of galactic civilization, from medicine to physics to consciousness research. The communication channels exploded again as the implications hit home. Maya had just announced that they possessed something infinitely more valuable than a single restored war dog. "Impossible," Admiral Ketvar declared. "No facility could contain that much information." "Would you like me to prove it?" Maya asked sweetly. "Curator, please transmit the basic mathematical principles for dimensional phase manipulation to the Void Walker flagship." There was a brief pause. Then, excited voices began speaking rapidly in the background of Admiral Kethvar's channel. "These equations," he said, his harmonic voice carrying notes of awe. "They solve problems we have been working on for centuries." "How is this possible?" "Because the Coalition had centuries to solve them," Maya replied. "And that's just one tiny fragment of what's here. We have complete biological enhancement protocols that could extend lifespans indefinitely. Consciousness transfer techniques that would make death optional. Energy manipulation systems that could provide unlimited power to every world in the galaxy. Then surrender this facility immediately," High Crystallarch Zenth demanded. "Such power cannot be allowed to remain in the hands of children." Maya smiled. "See, that's exactly the attitude that destroyed the Coalition. They became so powerful that everyone else decided they had to be stopped. We're not going to make the same mistake." "What are you proposing?" asked Captain Voss, the ranking officer from an independent trader coalition that had somehow gained representation in the fleet. "We're proposing something that has never been tried before," Maya announced. "A galactic university, an institution dedicated to sharing knowledge responsibly, at a pace that allows civilizations to grow into new technologies instead of being overwhelmed by them." The concept was so unprecedented that several seconds of silence followed as the various fleet commanders tried to process it. "You would freely share Coalition knowledge?" Admiral Kethvar asked, suspicion clear in his voice. "With those who prove they can use it wisely," Maya confirmed. "The Curator has developed evaluation protocols that can assess technological and ethical readiness. Species that demonstrate they can handle advanced knowledge responsibly will gain access to appropriate technologies. Those that aren't ready yet will be offered guidance to help them develop the necessary wisdom." And who decides what constitutes readiness? General Torres demanded. The same entity that has been making those decisions for 3 centuries, Maya replied. The curator is a collective consciousness comprising the greatest minds in coalition history. It has been evaluating the development of galactic civilizations since the coalition's fall, waiting for the right moment to reintroduce their legacy. This is preposterous, High Crystallarch Zenth declared. You expect us to submit to evaluation by an artificial intelligence? To accept judgment from a machine about our worthiness for advancement? I expect you to prove that you're better than the coalition, Maya shot back. They fell because they couldn't cooperate with other species when those species felt threatened. Are you going to repeat their mistakes? Or are you going to show that galactic civilization has actually learned something over the past 3 centuries? The challenge hung in space like a gauntlet thrown between warships. Maya was essentially daring the assembled fleet to demonstrate wisdom instead of force, cooperation instead of conquest. What guarantees do we have? Asked Captain Voss. How do we know this isn't some elaborate trap? You don't, Maya admitted. Trust is a risk. But consider the alternative. You could try to take Sanctuary 7 by force, and probably trigger the largest war in galactic history as everyone fights over the spoils. You could destroy each other and guarantee that coalition knowledge remains buried forever. Or you could try something revolutionary, working together. As Maya spoke, the curator was quietly transmitting additional data samples to each fleet. Mathematical proofs that solved long-standing scientific problems, medical techniques that could eliminate common diseases, energy efficiency improvements that would revolutionize space travel. Just enough to demonstrate the incredible value of what Sanctuary 7 contained. The data we are receiving, Admiral Kethvar said slowly, it appears genuine. These solutions could advance Void Walker science by decades. And the medical protocols, added DR, Savik from the Andorian research ship, they could eliminate the cellular degradation syndrome that has plagued our species for millennia. Maya sensed the mood shifting as the fleet commanders began to understand what they were being offered. There's enough here to benefit everyone. But only if we can prove that galactic civilization has evolved beyond the fear and suspicion that destroyed the coalition. What specific terms are you proposing? Asked General Torres, his military pragmatism taking over. Joint establishment of the new coalition academy, Maya announced, revealing the plans she, Fenris, and the curator had developed over the past few hours. A collaborative institution with representatives from every major galactic civilization. The academy would be headquartered here in Sanctuary 7, with satellite campuses throughout the galaxy. And governance? Inquired High Crystallarch Zenth. Shared. Each member civilization provides representatives to an advisory council. Decisions about knowledge sharing and technological development are made collectively. No single species dominates the process. What about enforcement? Captain Voss asked. How do you prevent knowledge from being misused once it's shared? Fenris stepped forward. That is where the Coalition's military legacy proves useful. Sanctuary 7 contains construction protocols for updated versions of our defensive systems. Academy facilities would be protected by automated guardians that could prevent misuse of shared technologies. By dogs? Admiral Kethvar asked, his voice carrying new respect. Educational assistants, Maya corrected with a grin. Think of them as very advanced teaching aids with the ability to enforce academic standards. The communication channels fell silent as the various commanders consulted with their governments and advisors. Maya used the pause to check Sanctuary 7's defensive status. Any signs of aggressive action? She asked the curator. Negative. Most fleets are maintaining position while conducting intensive analysis of the data samples we transmitted. Early indications suggest strong interest in the Academy proposal. And the holdouts? The Zephyrian Federation remains suspicious, but their scientists are extremely excited about the medical applications. The Void Walker Collective is divided between those who want to seize the technology and those who recognize the value of cooperative development. Human Colonial Authority is primarily concerned about Maya's legal status. Maya nodded. How are we doing on time? Sanctuary 7's presence is bound to attract more attention. Already happening, Fenris reported. Long-range sensors detect additional fleets approaching from the core worlds. Word is spreading rapidly throughout the galaxy. Then, we need to make this work quickly, Maya decided. Curator, are you ready to demonstrate the Academy concept? Affirmative. initiating holographic projection of proposed Academy campus. The space around Sanctuary 7 suddenly filled with massive holographic constructions showing what the proposed Academy could become. Gleaming spires that existed partially in normal space and partially in dimensional phase zones, research laboratories equipped with technologies that hadn't been seen since the Coalition's golden age, and living quarters designed to accommodate the environmental needs of dozens of different species. Impressive, admitted Admiral Kethvar as his sensors analyzed the projections. But theoretical. How do we know you can actually construct such facilities? Because we already have, Maya announced. Curator, activate the satellite facilities. Throughout the Maelstrom Nebula, previously invisible structures began materializing as their dimensional camouflage deactivated. Smaller versions of Sanctuary 7 became visible, each one clearly designed as a specialized research and education facility. The Coalition prepared for this possibility, the curator explained. They established a network of hidden academies throughout the galaxy, waiting for a time when galactic civilization might be ready for guided advancement. Maya's success in restoring Fenris has triggered activation protocols that have been dormant for centuries. Captain Voss was the first to break the stunned silence. How many of these facilities exist? 47 primary campuses, each specializing in different aspects of Coalition knowledge. Medical research, consciousness studies, dimensional physics, biological enhancement, energy manipulation, and others. Together, they represent the most comprehensive educational network ever conceived. Maya watched as the various fleet commanders struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. She was offering them something unprecedented in galactic history, the chance to advance civilization through cooperation rather than conquest. There's one more thing, Maya said quietly. The Academy isn't just about sharing existing knowledge. It's about creating new knowledge through collaborative research. Imagine what could be discovered when the best minds from every civilization work together instead of competing. The human makes a compelling argument, came a new voice, and Maya realized that additional species had joined the communication channel. I am Hive Mind Designation 7 of the Collective Consciousness. We have been monitoring these proceedings with great interest. Maya felt a chill. The Collective Consciousness was one of the galaxy's most feared civilizations. Billions of minds linked into a single entity that viewed other species as useful raw material for expansion. Your proposal intrigues us, the Hive Mind continued. However, we must question whether individual consciousness-based civilizations can truly cooperate on such a scale. Our experience suggests that biological entities are fundamentally selfish and competitive. With respect, Fenris interjected, that assessment is based on observing species that have been forced to compete for resources. The Academy offers abundance instead of scarcity. When survival needs are met, biological entities often display remarkable capacity for cooperation and altruism. An untested hypothesis, the Hive Mind replied, but one we would be interested in observing. The collective agrees to participate in your Academy experiment on a provisional basis. Maya felt the momentum shifting as more civilizations recognized the opportunity being offered. Even species that had been enemies for centuries were beginning to see the value in cooperation when the potential rewards were so enormous. The Crystalline Confederacy will participate, announced Sage Prime Kethril. Our symbiotic relationship with our crystal partners has always been based on mutual benefit. We understand the value of cooperation between different forms of consciousness. The Andorian Republic is interested, added Dr. Savik. The medical applications alone justify the risk. One by one, representatives from nearly every major galactic civilization voiced their willingness to at least attempt the Academy experiment. The only significant holdout remained the Zephyrian Federation. High Crystallarch Zenth, Maya addressed the Federation leader directly. I understand your concerns about Coalition technology. But consider this. Your species has always prided itself on wisdom and careful consideration. Who better to help ensure that advanced knowledge is used responsibly? There was a long pause before Zenth responded. You offer us the role of guardians rather than merely students? I offer you the chance to help guide galactic civilization's development, Maya confirmed. The Zephyrian Federation's reputation for ethical leadership makes you ideal candidates for the Academy's Oversight Council. Acceptable, Zenth finally announced. The Federation will participate contingent on the establishment of proper safeguards against the misuse of coalition technologies. Maya felt a surge of triumph. They had done something that most observers would have considered impossible. United the galaxy's major powers around a common goal instead of allowing competition for coalition technology to trigger another devastating war. Excellent, the curator announced. Academy implementation protocols are now activating. Sanctuary 7 will serve as the central campus and coordination hub. Each participating civilization will be contacted within the next solar day to establish initial research priorities and student exchange programs. Wait, General Torres interjected. What about Maya? The Human Colonial Authority still has concerns about her legal status. Maya grinned. General, I hereby resign my citizenship in the Human Colonial Authority and claim asylum status as a citizen of the new Coalition Academy. My legal status is now a matter for the Academy's Governance Council to determine. You can't just, Torres began. Actually, she can, interrupted Captain Voss. Academic asylum is recognized under galactic law. Ms. Chun has effectively become a citizen of an educational institution, which means, Fenris added with what Maya had learned was his version of amusement, that any attempt to claim jurisdiction over Maya would be considered an attack on the Academy itself. Given that the Academy is now under the protection of updated coalition defensive systems, such an attack would be inadvisable. As Maya watched the assembled fleets begin to reorganize from battle formations into diplomatic groupings, she reflected on how much her life had changed. A month ago, she had been a salvage engineer struggling to make ends meet. Now, she was helping to reshape galactic civilization. Maya, the curator said privately through her neural interface, I must inform you that your role in these events has attracted attention beyond our galaxy. Deep space sensors are detecting approach signatures that match profiles for extragalactic intelligence probes. Maya felt a familiar surge of excitement, mixed with apprehension. You mean there are other civilizations out there? Indeed. The Coalition made limited contact with extragalactic entities during their expansion phase. Those entities have apparently been monitoring this galaxy's development and are now interested in investigating the Academy. More students? Maya asked hopefully. Or more teachers? The curator replied. Some extragalactic civilizations are far older and more advanced than anything the Coalition achieved. Your Academy concept may have attracted the attention of beings who could advance galactic civilization by millions of years. Maya looked out at the fleets, now working together to establish the foundation of something unprecedented in galactic history. Then at Fenris, whose consciousness had been her first gift to the universe. You know what? She said with a grin that carried all the stubborn optimism of her species. I always want to meet aliens from other galaxies. Bring them on. As the Academy's first day began, and representatives from dozens of civilizations started working together on projects that had once seemed impossible, Maya realized that her adventure was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The galaxy had laughed at a human girl who bought a broken war dog. Now that same girl was helping to build a future where cooperation replaced competition, where knowledge was shared instead of hoarded, and where the greatest achievement wasn't conquest, but the elevation of consciousness itself. Not bad for someone who had started out just trying to fix something broken. But then again, that was exactly what she had done. She had looked at a galaxy torn apart by fear and competition and decided to fix it one civilization at a time. And as messages began arriving from extragalactic entities interested in joining the Academy, Maya knew that her next project would be even more ambitious. After all, there were a lot more galaxies out there, and most of them probably had broken things that needed fixing. She was going to need a bigger workshop.